Are you John?
I am.
I'm Christina.
Christina.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Bernardo. Cool.
I'm Gloria.
Gloria.
Nice to meet you.
So we're going to do it in here? Is that the
Yeah.
deal? Come on in then.
We are taking like a cross-country road trip. We started in LA and we're going to end up in New York in like about a week or so. And along the way, we're just meeting with people and fascinating leaders that we find really interesting and asking them how they got to where they are today. And it's in hopes that it'll help us find our roads in life. So what we're wondering is, when you were around our age, like 20 or 21, where were you at? And what were you doing?
Well, I go back a little bit further, and what I had was the advantage of my father, who said, I really don't care what you do, just so long as you do your best at it. And that was a real gift, right, to have a father, and both my parents, in fact, who said, you don't have to be this or you don't have to be that. You just have to do it. You don't have to be the best at it. You have to do it to the best of your own abilities. And that was a very liberating thing. Now, when I was in college, I really had no idea what I wanted to be. I used to tell everybody I wanted to go to law school because it ended the conversation quickly. I went to a liberal arts college because, you know, I believed in, okay, I want to get this sort of breadth of training and learn some history and learn English and, you know, learn to write well and learn some science. But of course, the whole time you're studying that, it's as though you're surrounded by people who don't believe that, right? So it seemed like everybody I was in school was majoring in accounting, because you knew you could get a job in accounting, or was planning on going to law school or medical school or graduate school. And certainly my path at the time looked like I was just going off a cliff. In the 80s, when I was in college, economics was the story of the day. There was this whole thing about there was a recession going on, and unemployment was high, and inflation was high. And certainly the stuff I was studying in school and the reality of what was going on in the economy didn't seem to mesh. But there were these guys who were sort of supply-side economists. They were Reaganomics, right? And a bunch of their writers and thinkers were right near where I lived, in Morristown, New Jersey. And they gave me all their literature free, which they were selling to Wall Street, and I was fascinated by it. And after popping in enough times, they asked me if I wanted to work for them. And I did. I worked for them, and I sold their research to people on Wall Street for 4 or 5 years. And I was fascinated by economics because I thought, well, maybe this is how the world works. But all the while, I had grown up with my family in northern New Jersey, hiking and fishing and kayaking and camping in Maine in the summers. And so while I'm studying this very conservative brand of economics and then selling this research to Wall Street, a friend of mine is dropping off these used books at my house every couple of weeks. And it turns out to have been the whole radical environmental canon that I'm reading and digesting, and it's really hitting home. As I'm seeing this sort of development boom roll across New Jersey. And I'm selling this sort of economic analysis that's promoting this development boom. So of course, my avocation and my vocation come crashing together at this point. And then it's at this point I realize, in my mind, my generation's great fight, whether it's World War II or putting a man on the moon or Vietnam, again, whichever side you take on these things, it really doesn't matter. It matters that you engage. You could be for the Vietnam War or against the Vietnam War, but you want to feel it and you want to engage, right? You don't want to kind of take a pass. Well, I have no opinion on that, right? So here was this great challenge to what I thought was my generation, ecological protection. So I really wanted in. And somebody came along and asked me, an old friend of mine, if I would help him run a foundation that was funding a lot of environmental groups. So I did this for a couple of years, almost 3 years. And now I wanted in even more. And so they helped me start a small environmental group that was working on ozone depletion and then later on global warming. And then ultimately, Greenpeace was looking for a new executive director. I survived the interview process. They finally offered me the job, and I said I would do it if I could merge these two groups together, Ozone Action, and I brought it in and tucked it into Greenpeace. Now, some people think it's very funny that I could have made such an odd turn. I could have been selling these computer systems and then this very conservative economic analysis, and then here I am at Greenpeace. But to me, it seems like a very natural path, right? Because all of these things were things that I was fascinated by, interested in. Normally, we orient our questions towards what should I do, what majors are available, what are other people doing, how much do you get paid, and when you orient it that way, one of the last things you're analyzing is what do I love to do, In fact, you're probably not even asking the question. And if you're not even asking the question, it's unlikely that you're going to find, what would I love to do? I guess the best thing I could say is that if you're out there, you're searching, you will find different things at different times that speak to you, that you can explore. But you do have to try to find some level of comfort with not knowing. I think in many ways, it's really, it puts a sort of a false expectation on a young person in college to think that you should know. It's not like, you're apprenticed to the shoe cobbler and you're going to be a shoemaker for the rest of your life. It doesn't work that way anymore. And in some ways, it's a great gift. It leaves it so we're more confused when we're young. It's a little harder that way. But you no longer have parents that say, you're going to marry this person and you're going to work for the tinsmith. You have the luxury of a number of careers in there, and you can explore a number of different worlds. What we don't do, however, is there is this sort of constant messaging, I know, because I was there, that comes on like, why don't you know yet? You better hurry. And if you don't hurry, you're going to be behind everyone. And it's simply not true.
Did you let go of the tension as far as I have to figure out something? Because I think, like, for myself, it's like there's always this thing of what do I have to do, to be happy and to make something out of my life.
Yeah, to be perfectly fair, I don't think I ever let go of the tension, but I also let myself make those turns, right? So all I'm saying is, if I had to do it again, I'd probably try to be a little less stressed about it, but I'd still make those turns. I love those big turns I made, and I'll probably make more in my life. Why not?
If there's a piece of advice you can give us 3 confused college students, and I think our generation's also on the same boat as far as, on that side of the I don't know, what do I do? What advice would you give us?
Find ways to take what you're most interested in, even what's most fun to you, and find a way to explore that, and try to drop the dogma that you get even from your own peers. Something is cool, something is politically correct. That stuff it gives you bad advice, because it's always somebody else's agenda, and it won't help you, and it will never speak to your heart. So that something is good or bad to do should be based on how it feels to you and your own sense of ethics, not somebody else's rule book. So here I am running Greenpeace. If you feel passionately about doing conservative political work, you should do that. If you feel passionately about working for the companies that I think are pillaging the earth, you should do that, and you should do the best job you can for them. And you shouldn't let somebody else judge you as you're going to follow your own path. That dogma can get you off course. But your own heart will never set you astray.